and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a mid-year book tag. So I've gone through multiple people's videos that I watch, Larry Reed's being one of them, Madison Kate being one of them, and Sarah Crowley I think was the other one that I looked at, and just they all seem to have roughly about the same questions. So I've just gone through and written my answers for them. I did think it was a little bit late for a book tag, that's why I hadn't filmed one yet, but they seem to be coming back around again, which is awesome because I just didn't have the time to film one during the actual middle of the year. So I've got my prompts over here on my computer, so if I'm looking over here it's just because I'm trying to remember the prompts. So I saw a couple people do the top 5 reads of the year and some people do like best book of the year, so I decided to do my top 4 books. I have tried not to repeat books in answers of these prompts, so there might be one or two that are in a couple different categories, but I've tried to avoid repeating them. So we'll start off with my favourites and then I'll do my ultimate favourite last. One of my favourite reads this year was The Exes by Leodora Darlington. I did get my copy signed and dedicated, which is amazing, and this has just become another one of my prized possessions. This book follows Natalie, who all of her exes somehow end up dead, and then the book starts when she is clutching a knife and she's had a very big argument with her husband, and then you go back and forwards. It's told through an alternate timeline where you go back and you find out like everything that happened with each of the exes, and then you flash forward to sort of like the crisis that she's having in her marriage in the current timeline. I absolutely loved this. I rated this a solid 4 stars. Like I said, I really love an alternating timeline, so this was one of the things I loved about this book. I think it was done so well and it had some really good plot twists. Next up, we have another book that I read quite recently, and that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This was one of the books that I picked for my summer TBR, and I really love this book. It has been on my like want to read list for years, like pretty much since it was a relatively new release, and then I've had it since Christmas. So in the grand scheme of things, it's relatively new to the physical TBR. However, I have wanted to read it for years. I rated this a 5-star on Goodreads, and I think it was just because I couldn't quite decide between like a 4.5 or a 4.75, but this is one that I do think about quite often, so I think that's why I settled on a 5-star. But I don't know, think about it now, I'm just like, I don't know if it's quite a 5-star. I would say it's a 4.75 because it's just not quite a 5-star. But on Goodreads, you have to do whole star ratings. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I definitely want to continue the series for this as well. I loved the friendships, I loved the relationship, I loved like the side plots that you have going on, and I also loved Delilah. So this one follows our main character Delilah, who is a photographer. She moved to New York City pretty much like as soon as she could, became a photographer, and has kind of just been living her life kind of by herself in a sense, and then she has to go back to her hometown of Bright Falls to go and be the photographer for her stepsister's wedding. She's been kind of estranged from her family. Her father passed away quite a few years ago. She never felt really cared for by her stepmother. She just kind of did the bare minimum to keep her surviving, and her and her stepsister Astrid just never really had a great relationship. So she then goes back and she, like I said, she's been the photographer for this wedding. She's going back to her hometown for the first time in years. She's going back to seeing her stepmother and her stepsister for the first time in years. And that is when she is reunited with Claire. So Claire is the love interest. She's a single mum. She runs, I think, a bookstore in the town, and they did know each other from when they were younger because Claire is Astrid's best friend, one of her best friends at least. And so she did know her growing up, but like I said, she didn't have a great relationship with her stepsister, so they just never really became friends, if that makes sense. And then one day they see each other again, and it kind of just goes from there. I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, 4.75 stars. I would highly recommend, and I really do want to continue the series. There is 3 videos. There is 3 books in this series. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about before my ultimate favourite is a Kindle read, and that was Wild Dark Shore. I cannot tell you how much I loved this book. I would say it's like a 4.5, 4.75. Again, I feel like that's a bit of a running theme with my reads so far this year. It is almost the end of July, so obviously we're past the halfway mark in the year. I did have a big reading slump, but also a lot of my books I did really enjoy, but they just weren't quite 5 stars, and I'm hoping that that will change throughout the rest of the year. But Wild Dark Shore was something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone when it comes to books. It was more like general fiction. It has got like a mystery. It does say like mystery thriller on Goodreads, but I'd say it's more of a mystery rather than a thriller. I really enjoyed this one. I loved the concept of it. I loved the execution of the idea. I loved the characters. I loved the setting, and just literally everything about this book I love. I talked about it quite a bit in my reading vlog actually, my trying to get out of a reading slump one, so I'm not going to do like a massive description of it, because if you want that, just go and watch that video. But this one basically is set on a remote island, and you follow a family who have chosen to live there. It's not like their plane crashed and they're stranded or anything like that. They've chosen to live there, and basically they just have to take care of the island and the seed bank that is on the island. And there is quite a few things that go on throughout the story, but at the start of the book, a woman named Rowan, she washes up on the shore, and they like nurse her back to health, and then they're trying to figure out why she's there, because it's a very remote island. I think it's quite close to the Antarctic, or I don't remember exactly where, but either way, it's very far away from any other land, and so it's very rare that they ever have people go there that haven't been sent there purposefully, if that makes sense. So yeah, I absolutely love this book. I do want to read more by this author, and it also just made me realize I do want to branch out more into sort of like general fiction. The last book, which has been my ultimate favorite book of the year, and also just one of my ultimate favorite books of all time, and that is Warrior Princess Assassin by Brigid Kemmerer. I love this, and I'm not going to go into this massively again because I have talked about it in other videos. This is one of my ultimate favorite books, and they're releasing another edition of it in, I think it's the 13th of August it comes out, and I will be at Waterstones waiting for that book because it is gorgeous. And this is actually the second book by this author that is one of my all-time favourite books, except the other one is a like YA romance. So it was a very different genre. This is an adult romantasy. So yeah, this again was very out of my comfort zone. So again, it is one of those books that made me realise I need to read more romantasy. So yeah, I absolutely love this one. This one was 6 stars, not 5, 6 stars. The next prompt we have is best sequel you've read, which for me is another Kindle read, and that is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I absolutely love the whole Chestnut Springs series. This book is number 4, and it follows Theo and Winter. So in the first book, Flawless, you follow Summer, and you get to know a bit about her half-sister Winter and their family dynamic. And then Reckless, the main couple is Winter and Theo, and this one has an accidental pregnancy trope, which I know a lot of people not a big fan of. However, this one did it so well. I absolutely loved it. At least in my opinion, it was done great. I rated this one a 4-star, and it is one of my favourite in this series. It's head to head with Heartless for me. They're both my favourite, and this is like a small town cowboy country romance. Next up, we have a new release that you haven't read yet. And for me, again, I know I was just talking about Elsie Silver, but we have Fever Dream by Elsie Silver for...
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Anyway, so this came out, I think it was the 19th of May or something. I haven't read it yet. I don't really have a particular reason. I think part of it was because I was in a bit of a reading slump, so I just wasn't really wanting to pick it up. And then also there's been quite a few other reads that I wanted to enjoy. So this one is another one on my summer TBR. The male main character, his name is Emmett. He's a professional bull rider, and he goes on to a reality dating show called Romance Ranch because he needs the money to save his family's farm. And then the FMC is the location consultant on set and the younger sister of Emmett's most bitter professional rival. Okay, I'm more excited for this one now. The next prompt is most anticipated releases for the rest of the year. So my ultimate, like, most anticipated one is Captive Traitor King, which is the sequel to Warrior Princess Assassin. Obviously, I said I absolutely loved that book. It's my favourite read of the year, and I am so excited for the second book in the series. I think it might actually be a trilogy. I'm not 100% sure. The other two anticipated releases I have, I feel like there's probably one or two more, but off the top of my head, we have The Thoroughbreds, which is the second book in the Academy series. I read this at the beginning of the year, I think it was, and it was my first Ellen Hildebrand book because she did write this one with her daughter, I think it is. So this is like a general fiction with a bit of mystery, with a bit of romance, and like in an academic setting. Really enjoyed the first one. Can't wait for the second one, which comes out, I think it's the 13th of September. I forgot to write this one on my list, but Hollywood Ending, which is John Green's first, I think it's like an adult fiction book. It's the first fiction book he's releasing in 9 years, I think he said it is, which is crazy. I absolutely love The Fault in Our Stars. I really enjoyed Will Grayson, and Turtles All the Way Down. I do still have an abundance of Catherine's to read, but I think other than that, oh, and Looking for Alaska, absolutely loved that one. So I do really enjoy his writing. I'm very excited for this one. I don't remember too much about the premise of this book, but I did watch his Instagram reel where he was saying he feels it's best to go in blind. So I'm not gonna refresh my memory on it, if that makes sense, just because if he thinks it's best to go in blind, then I'm gonna do that. The last anticipated release that I have is Daybreak, which is the sequel to Nightshade. Again, this is another like academia setting, but this one's a bit more of a, I don't know if it's necessarily a dark academia, but to me, I would consider it a bit more of a dark academia, but I don't really read academia, if that makes sense. And it also has a big like romance plot, a big mystery plot, and the last one ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so I will want to read this like as soon as it comes out. Another one I think I'm gonna read in the read and vlog that I'm currently filming. Next one we have, and this isn't on so much of a positive note, but the next one we have is Biggest Letdown, and for me that was The Cabin in the Storm. I was so excited for this book. I ended up reading it for a bit of like research earlier on in the year when I was working on a uni project. I had to just read a couple books that are in the genre that I was writing in, and this one, oh, I think I rated it 2 stars, which I do not rate anything below like a 3.5 very often. I was disappointed by this one. I enjoyed it kind of most of the way, and then we got more towards the end, and I just found the main character, she was just very like a bit whiny, to be honest, a bit annoying. And then the turn that it takes at the end, I was just like, it's not a bit of me. It does have like a certain trope that I'm not a fan of, but I can't really say what it is without completely spoiling the book, if that makes sense. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this one, which was sad because one, the cover is beautiful. I would have loved to have had it on my shelf. I did read it on Kindle Limited, I think it's on, or it was on like a Kindle deal, and this one came out, I think, at the beginning of the year as well. But also just because the premise of it sounded really good. But like I said, it was a letdown. Let me just give you guys a bit of a synopsis for this book. So it's marketed as a fast-paced romantic suspense standalone, which is great because I feel like a lot of romantic suspense novels are like interconnected standalones, which I personally always want to read them in order because I'll probably read the other ones, so I might as well read them in the order, if that makes sense. And then it's also got a bit of a like paranormal element, a cowboy element, and it does say like military fiction and force proximity. But I feared that, I don't know, it leaned too heavy on making it those things that it just felt so forced, if that makes sense. Like the whole forced proximity thing, I think is great sometimes. However, this one I just don't feel like did it justice. So basically what happens here is something happens and the main character is basically like running away from her life, and then she ends up in a very dangerous situation, and that's kind of it. But things are still like happening. Like I said, there's a bit of like a mystery, it's like a romantic suspense. I I didn't enjoy it. I feel like there was some good things about this book. However, I can't discuss them because it would spoil the book. But yeah, those good things are why I rated it a 2 rather than like a 1. Next up, we have favorite new author, either debut or new to me. So, this is two books that I've already talked about, so I'll just go over it very quickly. But that is Ashley Herron Blake and Leodora Darlington. I will read anything that either of these two authors write because the size difference in this book is between these books is kind of crazy. But I will read anything either of these two write. Again, they're very different genres, but I absolutely loved it. And also the found family in this, impeccable. Next up, we have favorite new characters. So I've got 3 different sets of characters, like from 3 different books for this question. So first up, again, I'm going to go over these two quickly because I've already spoken about them. We have Delilah Green from Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I just love her. I do. And then we've got Theo and Winter from Reckless. I love them both individually. I love them as a couple. Just every single thing. I love it. And then this book I haven't spoken about yet, but the male main character is just chef's kiss, and that is Charlie Florrick from One Golden Summer. When we met Charlie in the first book, which is Every Summer After, I was sitting there thinking, I feel like his book would be more my thing. And I was hoping that we would get his book because I enjoyed Every Year After, but it just wasn't, Every Summer After, but it just wasn't my favourite. And then this one came out, and I thought, I am going to have to read it because I love Charlie Florrick. And so I read this and watched Every Year After, which is the adaptation of Every Summer After. I did it, like, watched it whilst reading this along the same, like, at the same time, which I absolutely loved. And I love Charlie in the first one too, in the first season of the series, and we are getting this book adapted as well. So yeah, Charlie Florrick, love him. Then we have Book That Made You Cry. Oh, okay, I know I said I was trying not to repeat books for this, but I feel like this one, there was actually only two books, I think, that made me cry this year, and that being One Golden Summer and Wild Dark Shore. I know, like I said, I love both of these books. When I was reading Wild Dark Shore, when I finished it, I was sat in a coffee shop crying because of it, which is both good, but also kind of embarrassing. But do you know what? I don't really care because the book just was amazing. The most beautiful book you've bought slash received. And I was trying to figure out which books I'd received slash bought this year. And originally, like, the first book that came to mind was Warrior Princess Assassin. Like I said, I've got the Fairy Loot version, and I absolutely love that cover. It's probably my favourite cover of all time of any of the books I own. However, I bought it last year, like right at the end of December, but technically it was last year. So I went with Power Play, which I love it. I love the pink, it's gorgeous, and then I really do like the proper cartoony art covers, like people rather than pictures of people as covers. I really hate that, but I'm really excited to read this book. However, it is the second book in a series, and again, I believe it's interconnected standalones, but I do want to read them in order because I think I would want to read them all. This one also has really nice sprayed edges that line up with the other copies, and I need to see when the other special editions of this are coming out because I think one of them is due like around now. And then this is also A Marriage of Convenience, which is one reason why I'm so desperate to read it because I'm a sucker for Marriage of Convenience. Books you want to read by the end of the year, and I have quite a few for this one, and this is just off of my physical TBR that I have with me right now. Most of my books are in storage, so these books are just ones that I've been accumulating over like Christmas, my birthday, and just like various other books that I've picked up, like when they've had sales and stuff. And then I also have a massive Kindle TBR, but I thought I would just focus on my physical TBR for now because these are the books that I'm like quite desperate to read. So, first up, we have the Part of Your World series. I would love to read all three books this year. But then do I want to read just for the summer if it's not summertime? I don't know. I don't know about that. But I would at least like to read the first book. I am contemplating doing a read and vlog where I just read all three of these books kind of back to back sort of situation. And I think the ones I'm most excited for are number 2 and 3. I was hoping I could read just for the summer in like this summer, but like I said, it is almost the end of July and I've got my next few reads planned just because of the read and vlog that I'm filming. I think by the time that's done, it's sort of going to be the end of summer and I would still have to read these two before I went into just for the summer. So I don't know, maybe I'll read this one and this one before like May, June time next year, and then I can read just for the summer in summertime. But I would at least like to read Part of Your World this year. Next up, we have a book that I did actually start, but I soft DNF. I think I was literally like 47 pages in, and that is Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren. This is a Tangled retelling. I love Tangled. Rapunzel is my favourite Disney princess, and Tangled is my favourite Disney film. I started this and I did enjoy it, but I just wasn't quite in the mood for it at the time, which is why it was a soft DNF, because I feel like this would be a good book to read in like September time when I'm getting ready to go back to uni, because the main character in this has just started college. So yeah, I feel like it's just a good time to read it is when I'm either back at uni or getting back into like the mood for college and uni stuff. Next up, we have the first two books in a series, and that is Face Off and Power Play. Obviously, I already spoke about Power Play. I have had this series on my want to read for ages, and then I saw that the Works are doing their special editions of these, so I'll show you guys what the special edition is, but it's like sprayed edges that line up between each book. I think they're all ice hockey, like NHL romances. So I think she joins his team, which is like kind of struggling, which is the DC Stars team. And they end up in bed together. They say it's a one-time thing, and then they end up making it a bit more than that. But yeah, I'm definitely more excited for this one, and there are some other ones in the series that I'm quite excited for. But I really just want to read this one this year because I really want to read Power Play. Is one of the books I'm most excited to read that I have. And then next up we have one that has been on my TBR for honestly a bit of an embarrassingly long amount of time, and that is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonam-Young. Hannah Bonam-Young is one of my favourite authors of all time, yet this one has managed to sit on my TBR for a year and a half essentially. I literally bought it on publication day and I still haven't read it. I don't know why. This one follows two characters that we meet in Out on a Limb, and this follows like I think it's sort of like a second chance marriage in turmoil sort of thing. Like I said, I love Hannah Bonam-Young. I love Hannah Bonam-Young. Again, I would love to wrap up some series that I'm currently reading because this is like a duet. We have two more, and that is Spiral. Oh, this one is quite floppy. That would be nice to read. But this one is Spiral. This I don't think is college. I had thought this was a college romance, but I don't think it actually is. I thought it was a college romance because the first one is. This is the second book in a series. Again, I want to continue more series and be catching up with them rather than just starting a million series but never finishing them or continuing them. And I think the fourth book comes out in August, and I currently have only read the first one, but I own 1, 2, and 3. This one is so this is a hockey player and an aspiring ballerina who agree to fake date. I do love me a bit of fake dating. So yeah, and then the last one on my physical TBR that I would love to read this year is Voice of the Ocean. This one again I've had for over a year. I'm very much in the mood recently to read this, and this is, as you can tell, you might be able to tell from the front and the title, this is like a siren romantasy sort of thing, which I've been wanting to read a lot the last while, like the last month or so. But I've just been trying to wrap up my reads, and also I want to go into it when I'm not in a reading slump, and I was in a reading slump for a little while, so that's why I haven't picked it up yet. But I'm hoping to pick this up before the end of the year. I also have a goal to read 3 romantices this year, so this will be number 2. I also really want to read Dance of Lies, which is on my summer TBR, but I don't own that physically, so I have been kind of forgetting about it. But yeah, I would love to read that one this year too. And then we have 2 more prompts, your 5-star predictions for the rest of the year, and that is Captive Traitor King. Like I said, the first book, this was a 6-star for me, so I feel like the second book could be very highly rated, possibly a 5-star. And then the other one we have is Out of the Woods. This is predicted 5 stars for me because Out on a Limb, again, that's a 6-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. So I feel like this one could be 2. I love Hannah Bonam-Young. I think every book I read of hers, I rated at least a 4. So I rated People Watching 4 stars. I rated Next of Kin, I think 4.75. It was so close to being a 5-star for me. And then Out on a Limb was 6 stars, technically 5 stars, but in my head it was 6-star, good tier sort of book for me. So I know I will most likely really enjoy this one. It is a great 5-star contender. And then the last prompt we have is a reading goal check-in. So my overall goal for this year was 35 books. I'm currently on 17, so I'm 2 books behind schedule. Like I said, I was in a big reading slump. I just wasn't enjoying reading. I also, when I'm reading physical books, it takes me longer to read them than if I'm listening or reading on my Kindle. So that does like slow the thing down. I also am reading like a few pages of a non-fiction book every few days, or like sometimes I'll read it more like every day for a few days and then not read it for a few days. But that I do want to finish by the end of the year, just so I can wrap it up with that. Last year I read 46 books, the year before I read 39 books. So going off of what I've done, like those two have pretty much doubled what I was reading before I got my Kindle. So comparing it to what I've read both years since I got my Kindle, realistically, probably can achieve it. I just need to catch up. And I think that's another reason that like reading series more back to back will help, because I'll be in the zone for those books, and if I enjoyed the first one, I'm gonna want to read the second one, and I think that will just help get my numbers up. That being said, my reading goal is just based off of a number that I feel was a good number, because I want it to challenge me to choose reading over like being on my phone for too long, or like just not really doing anything, if that makes sense. But obviously I still want to enjoy each book that I am reading and not rush through it just for the sake of reading more books per year, if that makes sense. Which is why I settled on 35, because like I said, I read 46 one year, 39 the year before that. I feel like 35 is achievable, but it's still a little bit of a, I need to make sure I'm prioritizing reading over doom scrolling. I also feel like because I've been in a reading slump, it's made me fall off track a little bit. But I'm hoping with all of these glorious books I'm excited to read, it's gonna make me feel very excited to read and just want to do more reading. So yeah, with that being said, that is my mid-year book tag all done. I'm gonna end it off here. Thank you for watching. Comment down below your favourite read of the year, and then a book you would like to read before the year ends. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.